What up everyone, Blue here, and eating Pokemon has always been something people have always discussed. If it's in the fandom or out of the fandom, just the idea of Pokemon being the animals of the world, which ones are gotten to be eaten, which ones are, become livestock, etc., etc. And there are food Pokemon themselves. One of the most notable, being from Generation 8, is Alcremie, the adorable little whipped cream thing. And many people have discussed Alcremie being consumed, because its Gigantamax form is just a giant cake. And with 63 different possible forms, when you take into account its flavors and topping combinations, excluding the shiny, because that's its own thing, whatever. So I decided to take all the forms into account, their individual aspects, what each one, their flavors are supposed to be, and try figuring out which Alcremie is the most calories. A lot of people view calories as a good food measuring system, so I will be using that to determine, the worst to best, unhealthiest to healthiest Alcremie to consume. And the results will definitely shock you, because I was expecting a lot larger numbers, and then you'll see. I don't want to spoil it. If you want to see me talk more about Pokemon and just more random things, throw out ideas, and, do fun stuff like this, subscribe. I have way more stuff coming, and I loved making this stuff. So now again, Alcremie, back in Sword and Shield, was released the evolution of Milcery, and for what's important to us is its Pokedex, and its weight of 1.1 pounds, or 0.5 kilograms, if you're not one of the Americans watching. And it's only a foot tall, or 0.3 meters. Being a foot tall, it's so small, But then I was just kind of like, well, if it weighs 1.1 pounds, I can just guesstimate and say the cream, there's about a pound of whatever cream flavor it is, and that 0.1 comes from the little toppings, which there's 7 toppings? Yeah, 7 toppings. That is going to be considered the 0.1. The weight of the toppings really matters. Just I'm taking the creams into account by a 1 pound margin. So it is 1 pound of cream is what is being considered for the calorie count. On top of that, take into account each individual flavor. And some of them are very easy to figure out. Some of them, they exist. Now there's 9 flavors of Alcremie. Each flavor has a name, so that was my main reference for what to get for them. You have vanilla, ruby, which I was just looking at, and I was like, well, because of the color, and kind of how ice cream flavors work and how just flavoring things work, I decided to consider that a raspberry for sake of ease, because I think that's the most the R, the color, it worked in my opinion. Matcha, mint, lemon, salted, ruby swirl, which that does exist, but ruby itself, for some reason, doesn't really. Whatever. Caramel swirl and rainbow swirl. Also, fun fact, because I am not a food guy. I eat a lot, but, knowledge-wise, I don't know that much. So there was a lot of random facts that I got out of this. And I'll also link the websites I used to actually get some of this calorie data, because a lot of it was just gathered from these health websites, and I just kind of plugged in a few things or averaged out stuff if there was just a lot of variance to get these values. Yeah, so if you have a ice cream flavor or something, and it's called a swirl, it's not really used too much, but if you see something called a swirl, well, obviously it can be more calories. Typically, because of the way it's made, swirls technically are meant to be less calories and less overall stuff, because it's more of a mix of things. It is a weird way to phrase it, calling it a swirl, because it's more so that's just how you're mixing. Whatever. I don't understand food. Let me know more in the comments if you guys are more knowledgeable on these various points that I bring up, because I don't want to be giving out false information, of course. But to my understanding, swirl means slightly healthier on average. Don't quote me on that. Anyway, I got all of this data from eatthismuch.com, not sponsored. Again, random health website I found. I was able to put in these flavors, put in like cream or something related to cream, able to find some pretty good calorie counts, and was able to plug in just, here's how many pounds or grams, whatever, worked with that, and actually came out to some interesting numbers. So for vanilla, 1,210 calories. That is 1 pound of vanilla cream. I want to make that clear. So this is if you have a singular pound of generic vanilla cream, not ice cream, not anything. Think of like whipped cream. That is what I'm working with. Just a cream and it's vanilla flavored. That is how many calories. For ruby, which again I consider to be raspberry, we have 1,217. Matcha, 1,134. Mint, 1,296. Lemon, 2,169. While lemons typically aren't that high in calories, when they're mixed in things, they tend to not taste too good. So a lot of other things are usually put in with lemons, which is why calorie counts of things called lemon flavored or branded typically have higher calorie counts just to taste good. Salted with 3,240. Ruby Swirl at 776. Caramel Swirl at 1,050, and Rainbow Swirl at 525. Rainbow Swirl is interesting because it is a large mix of things. If you say have only like a few things, then it may be a lot higher in calorie count. But because we obviously don't know how much is being mixed into the Alcremie Rainbow Swirl, the idea more or less is it's a mix of all the flavors. So I tried going for the most broad Rainbow Swirl flavors I could find in a cream form, and it was very low because again, you're mixing so many small ounces of flavors to get one combined flavor, but because of that, it's so little of each individual thing, it's not that many calories as a whole. And then for the toppings, I used Fit.ia, this app. Again, not sponsored, but again, I was able to put in whatever I was looking for, able to get some decent enough data, and was able to work with that. For the toppings, again, there's 7 toppings. Strawberries, berry, which looks a lot like blueberry, love, star, clover, flower, and ribbon. We'll get to those. Now, strawberry isn't just a normal strawberry. These are toppings. These are meant to be sweets, as they're called, so they're more candy, is how I interpreted sweets as in candy, or a snack-like thing. And strawberry candy does exist. There's candy strawberries, of course, and those typically come in at around 72 calories. But each Alcremie, of course, has 2 of whatever topping it is, and this is per individual. So whatever calorie count the treat comes in, we have to multiply it by 2, because, there's 2 of them. So the strawberries would get you 144 calories. For the berry, or just blueberries, they're about 60 calories in snack form, which gets us about 120. For love, which is shaped like a little pink heart, I decided to interpret this as more like Valentine's Day, where hearts are chocolate. Hearts are love, they're chocolate. That is why it is a heart-shaped love treat. It is a form of chocolate. And apparently, which I didn't realize, dark chocolate is probably the most sold thing on Valentine's Day. Not normal chocolate, like a dark chocolate-based flavor more represents Valentine's Day, which I never realized, but when you look at kind of marketing and stuff, it tends to be dark chocolate. So that's what I went with. And because of dark chocolate, it is a much higher calorie count. And with 2 little things of heart-shaped dark chocolates, we're looking at about 496 calories just on those alone. For stars, man, this was interesting. Because this is a game based out of Japan, and that's kind of where they get inspirations from, I decided to base this off of, sorry if I mispronounced this, Conpito, which, for those who don't know, it's a little star candy, and this influenced the star bits in Mario Galaxy. There's these little star candy, they're decently popular, very popular, I'm not entirely sure, in Japan, but they're very small. And I decided to use that as a reference because, again, they're a snack, they're a treat. I think it works very well for the sweets, and it would make sense as a good reference because they're star-shaped. And again, they're very small, and on Alcremie they're a lot bigger. All the other ones, I left their standard calorie count because I think you could really say that that's the size they come in. But the Star Candy, again, they're super tiny. So I decided to just kind of guesstimate and say it's about 3 times the size. So 3 times the calorie count, because I didn't want to actually try thinking about, like, okay, well, proportion, whatever. I don't care that much. It's rough and clean numbers. It doesn't really switch up the results too much. It might be higher or less, but again, doesn't switch the results too much at the end. The calorie count may just be a little higher or lower. So usually a single one, probably about 12 calories. I multiply that by 3, get 36, times 2, 72 calories for the Star Candies on top of your Alcremie. Clover, because we're in America, clovers and green typically relate to St. Patrick's Day. And shamrock shakes, shamrock flavored things. What is shamrock? No one knows, but we call shamrock a flavor. And doing research, shamrock in candy form, treat form, is typically reserved for hard candies. And hard candies typically come in, guesstimating, 69 nice calories. So 2 of those get you 138 calories. There are flour candies where they take flowers and do something to them. I have no clue. Plants are even further out of my realm of expertise, so I got no clue here. But on average, flour candies come in about 43 calories, so we're looking at about 86 calories for the Alcremie's little flowers. Lastly, ribbon. There is actually a thing called ribbon candy, and while it's not like the little ribbon shape, because the name matches, I figured I would go with that because it's so specific. You're not gonna find another thing with like ribbon, so I decided to go with that. And a single piece of ribbon candy usually comes in at 60 calories, so if 2 of them, you get 120 calories. And that is all of the different calories counts for your different flavors of Alcremie. All you have to do is just add those 2 numbers together for any of the individual ones, and you can get the calorie count of all your different Alcremie forms. But I did the fun part, and I just got the most and the least. I don't really think anyone cares too much about the in-betweens. It's whatever. Like, it doesn't really matter about each individual one. Because, again, you have the numbers. You guys could easily do that math. So for the most calories, we have the Love Sweet Salted combo. Anyway, you're looking at 3,736 different calories. This is more. You're looking at the typical diet of an adult male that is overweight. 3,000 calories is a lot. About 2,000 and like 800, 700 calories is what an active adult male typically consumes in a day-to-day average. So 3,000 is a fair bit more, and it's almost 4,000, which is a lot more. So we're looking at a decently overweight person consuming this. We're now reaching more towards some wild animal territories in terms of calorie counts. That is a lot. But on the complete other side of the spectrum, if you combine the Star Sweet and Rainbow Swirl Cream, you get the least calorie count, which is only about as much as a standard granola bar, 597 calories, which shockingly is not that much. And I know you're all probably thinking, you're looking at a creature that is built firmly of cream. And you gotta put into account that Alcremies are only a foot tall. They're very small Pokemon. If you bring them into the real world, they're very small. They're not that big. And with their weight into account, again, no one knows how thick this cream is, how solid this cream is. So I want just the general average with those factors in mind. And you're looking, again, at a small Pokemon, small portions overall of cream. Well, yes, Alcremies can be very high calorie counts. They can also be very low because they're so small, and because the mix of flavors, of course, there's really no guarantee at what you're looking at with Alcremie. But again, on average, you're looking at about a couple thousand calories. Funny enough, an Alcremie a day would sustain a person if you're looking at the average. You're looking at a sustainable food source of an Alcremie a day, which is concerning for the Alcremie population. With all that being said, that is all I have for you today. It was actually a lot of fun doing this little experiment. The amount of times I've seen people online like try recreating Alcremie with actual cream, making it like cake. Alcremie, I feel like, is the food Pokemon mascot. I mean, I'm not complaining. I like Alcremie. I think Alcremie is cute. I did get all the forms, which I do understand the headache for those going for it. And for the love of God, don't do it in Sword and Shield. Scarlet Violet makes it so much easier, with the DLC especially. Just do it in Scarlet and Violet. Do not grind them out in Sword and Shield if you have any form of sanity. Or if you have the option, of course. And with that being said, I wish you all a lovely day.